Hi folks, how you doing? Today we're going to be playing a game of TerraFyte. Since the game is new, I'll be going over the rules as they play. Player 1 is playing Prelation Perfection, Player 2 is playing Fine Filth. Player 2 has priority, however has no cards to play, so they pass priority to Player 1. During the planning phase, Player 1 puts down a card face down, and they pay 60 banana bits for it. Players then go to action phase, and Player 1 flips over a drill shooter. Drill shooter is only able to deal damage to the opponent's shields. Player 1 also purchases a monkey for 10 banana bits to attach to Drill Shooter so it can take action. Now both players move to battle phase, and Drill Shooter is the only ship that can move, so Player 1 uses its movement action to move one space up. They then use their attack action to deal 3 damage to Player 2's shield. Now it's time for the end. Players can choose to draw a card. If they do, they discard a card. Player 2 decides to draw a card and then decides to discard a card. During the end, players switch priority. It'll now be Player 1's priority. However, after Player 2 draws, he still has effects to use. Player 2 has a trick. The trick is called Test Drive. Players reveal the top card of their deck till they reveal a ship card. They repeat this process once and then shuffle their deck. Player 2 gets 2 copies of Tinlark Shifter. He then puts them into their hand and shuffles their deck. Player 1 decides to draw a card and then discard a card. Now it's time for payday. Both players receive 60 banana bits. Now it's time to move to the planning phase. During planning phase, Player 1 puts a card face down and pays 60 banana bits for it. When Player 1's finished, Player 2 gets priority and decides to put a card face down as well. It also costs 60 banana bits. They both move to action. Player 1 flips over an anti-warp. Player 2 flips over a Tinlark Shifter and immediately crews it with a monkey. They then both move to battle phase. Tinlark Shifter is faster than anti-warp, so it gets to move first. Tinlark Shifter has bishop shot, so it can shoot diagonally. It deals 2 damage to Drill Shooter, blowing it up. Player 1 didn't have enough banana bits, so they were unable to crew their anti-warp. It's now time for the end. Players choose to draw a card and then discard a card. After both players decide to draw and then discard a card, it's now time for the payday. Both players receive 60 banana bits. Players move to planning phase. Player 2 places a card down that costs 60. After some thought, Player 1 places a card down that costs 30. Players then move to action phase to get ready to flip cards face up. Player 1 reveals a Bounty Blaster, while Player 2 reveals a Carry Driver. Player 1 then attaches Bounty Blaster to Anti-Warp. Player 1 buys a monkey, attaching it to their ship. Player 2 also buys a monkey and attaches it to their ship. Players then move to battle phase. Carry Driver moves up and uses the attack action on the opponent's shield. Player 1 then chooses Tinlark Shifter and moves it to the left using its move action. Then it uses its attack action to attack the opponent's shield. Player 1 passes level 1. They put their level 1 reinforcement into their hand. They use their movement action to move their anti-warp one space up, and then use their attack actions to deal damage to the opponent's shield. Players choose to draw and then discard. After, priority is switched. Players then move to payday. Player 2 gains an extra 20 banana bits due to Carry Driver. Players don't take any actions during planning and move straight to action phase. Player 1 uses a trick on action phase, Monkey Shot, dealing Carry Driver 5 damage, blowing it up. Players then move to battle phase. Tinlark Shifter is the fastest ship in play and gets to move first. It uses Bishop Shot to deal 2 damage to Anti-Warp. It then uses its movement action to move to the left. Being the next in priority, Anti-Warp uses its attack to deal 2 damage to the opponent's shield. Players move to the end. Player 2 plays their level 3 reinforcement, Craft Time, and draws 3 cards. Players then move to the end phase and draw a card and discard a card. Players then move to payday and get paid 60 banana bits. Then players move to planning and place cards face down. Player 1 pays 30 banana bits, placing a card face down. Player 2 pays 60 banana bits and places a card face down. They both move to action phase and flip cards face up. Player 2 attaches Warp Goo to Anti-Warp. It can no longer take special actions or use castling. It'll also take 1 damage during payday. Player 2 flips over a Chapel Wing and buys a monkey for 10 banana bits and attaches it. Moving to battle, Tinlark Shifter uses its movement action to move left and then uses its attack action. Player 1 then uses Chapel Wing's movement action, moving it up 1 space and then using its attack action to attack the other player's shield. Player 1 then uses Anti-Warp's attack action to deal damage to the opponent's shield. Players then choose to go to end, choose to not draw cards, and then move directly to payday and gain 60 banana bits. On payday, Anti-Warp receives 1 damage due to Warp Goo. Players then move to planning, and Player 2 places a card face down for 60 banana bits. Player 1 places a card down for 40 banana bits. Players move to action phase. Player 2 reveals a Bullwing, while Player 1 reveals Reinforcement Ship. Each player chooses to pay 10 banana bits and buy a monkey and attach it to their ships. Players then move to battle. Bullwing has the speed of 4, so it is the fastest ship in play. Bullwing uses its movement action to move 1 space up, and then uses its attack action to attack the opponent's shield. Player 1 puts their level 2 reinforcement into their hand. Player 2 has their Tinlark Shifter deal 2 damage to the opponent's shield, and then uses its movement action to move it to the left 1 space. Player 1 then moves and then shoots Bullwing for 3 damage. Anti-Warp then deals 1 damage to the opponent's shield. Reinforcement Ship then moves up 1 space and deals 3 damage to the opponent's shield. Players go to the end phase, then go to Payday and get paid 60 banana bits. Warp deals 1 damage to Anti-Warp and blows it up. Players then move to Planning. However, Player 2 is the only player with an action as they put down a card for 70 banana bits. On action phase, Player 2 flips over a Tinlark Diver. They then purchase a monkey for 10 banana bits and attach it to Tinlark Diver. Player 2 is ready to move to battle, however, Player 1 has a trick they would like to play while in the action phase. Player 1 plays Avoid Calamity. It deals 30 damage to a ship unless its controller plays 30 banana bits. And if they have more ships than you, you repeat the process 1 more time. Player 2 isn't interested in paying, so his Bullwing takes 30 damage, blowing it up. He also doesn't pay for his Tinlark Shifter, and it is dealt 3 damage. Tinlark Shifter attacks Reinforcement Ship, dealing it 2 damage. Shepplewing then uses attack action to deal 3 damage to the opponent's shield. Tinlark Diver moves up, attacking Reinforcement Ship for 4 damage, blowing it up. Player 1 pays 40 banana bits to draw a card, and then chooses to draw and then discard for the end phase. Players then move to Payday and get paid 60 banana bits each. Players are now in planning phase, and Player 2 puts down a card face down paying 60 banana bits. Player 1 also puts a card face down paying 60 banana bits. Player 2 flips over another Tinlark Shifter while Player 1 flips up a Resource Hunter. Player 2 has enough to buy a monkey while Player 1 does not. Player 2 moves his Tinlark Diver up and shoots for 2. Then, with their second Tinlark Shifter, they decide to shoot the shield of the opponent. They also have a Tinlark Diver, which they decide to use the attack action for dealing damage to the opponent's shield, after of which they move to the right. Player 1 moves Shovelwing and then uses its attack action to deal damage to the opponent's shield. Player 2 puts their level 4 reinforcement into their hand. Both players choose to not draw for the end phase and then choose to go to Payday. Players then move to planning phase. The only player who puts down a card is Player 2, paying 40 banana bits. Players then go to action phase and reveal Time Ebb Orb. Next damage dealt will be prevented, and the player who has Time Ebb Orb will gain 2 life and then draw a card. Player 1 purchases a monkey and then moves to battle. Player 1 moves up Resource Hunter and then attacks the opponent's shield for 2. Damage, however, is prevented. The opponent draws a card and then repairs their shield by 2. Before priority is passed, Player 1 plays Fling Wave, targeting Tinlark Shifter. This returns Tinlark Shifter to its owner's hand, and it deals 2 damage to their shield, bringing them down to their level 4. In desperation, Player 2 tries to draw a card to see if there's a card in his deck that will get him out of this sticky situation. He then chooses his Tinlark Shifter to do 2 damage to the opponent's shield. Player 1 then chooses Chepplewing to attack and deal the final blow of damage. Good game. Player 1 is the winner. Congratulations!